Some heists become legends not just for what was stolen, but for what was never explained. In 1950, Boston witnessed the most meticulously planned robbery in American history. Yet beneath the surface of this famous crime lay disturbing patterns that investigators would spend decades trying to understand. The official files tell one story. The classified addendums tell another entirely. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe for more paranormal discoveries. It was January 17, 1950, just after 7 in the evening, when the impossible became reality at 165 Prince Street in Boston's North End. The Brinks armored car depot stood like a fortress in the industrial districts, its brick walls housing millions in cash, checks, and security. What happened at winter night would challenge everything law enforcement understood about criminal planning and human coordination. The building itself occupied a corner lot, 3 stories of reinforced masonry that had served as the company's headquarters since 1927. Heavy steel doors, reinforced windows, and a sophisticated alarm system protected the ground floor counting room where employees processed the day's collections. The second floor housed administrative offices, while the third remained largely unused storage. Security protocols required multiple guards on duty at all times, each following strict procedures developed over decades of operation. 7 men entered that building with a precision that defied conventional criminal behavior. They moved through multiple locked doors without triggering a single alarm. They subdued 5 employees without violence or struggle. They knew exactly where to find the most valuable items among thousands of containers and packages. The robbery lasted exactly 27 minutes, during which they removed over $2.7 million in cash, checks, coins, and securities. The first responding officers found the employees bound with rope and adhesive tape, unharmed but deeply shaken. None could provide coherent descriptions of their attackers beyond noting they wore dark clothing and masks. The crime scene revealed no fingerprints, no dropped items, no physical evidence of any kind. It appeared as though phantoms had materialized, executed a perfect heist, and vanished into the Boston night. Federal Bureau of Investigation agents arrived within hours, transforming the depot into a massive evidence collection site. Special Agent Thomas Richardson led the investigation, assembling a team of forensic specialists, behavioral analysts, and organized crime experts. What they discovered in those first crucial hours established patterns that would haunt the case for years. The perpetrators had intimate knowledge of the building's layout, including recent security modifications that only employees should have known. They possessed keys to doors that had been recently rekeyed. They bypassed alarm systems using methods that suggested either inside information or surveillance capabilities far beyond typical criminal resources. Most disturbing, they demonstrated coordination and timing that approached mathematical precision. Employee interviews revealed unsettling details that never appeared in public reports. Several workers mentioned seeing the same unfamiliar faces in the neighborhood during preceding weeks. A maintenance worker named Joseph McLaughlin reported finding small chalk marks on walls and door frames, symbols that disappeared when he returned with supervisors to document them. Night security guard Frank Brennan described hearing unusual sounds from the unused 3rd floor during his rounds, though subsequent searches revealed nothing out of place. The investigation expanded as agents realized the scope of planning required for such an operation. Behavioral analysts estimated the perpetrators had conducted surveillance for at least 6 months, possibly longer. They would have needed detailed floor plans, employee schedules, security protocols, and delivery timetables. The level of preparation suggested either extensive inside assistance or surveillance methods beyond conventional criminal capabilities. 3 weeks after the robbery, investigators made a discovery that complicated their understanding of the case. Hidden in the basement of a nearby abandoned warehouse, agents found what appeared to be a makeshift command center. Tables held detailed architectural drawings of the Brinks building, employee photographs, and schedules written in an unfamiliar shorthand. Most puzzling were dozens of newspaper clippings about other robberies dating back 15 years, each marked with the same cryptic symbols McLaughlin had seen at the depot. The warehouse discovery led to more questions than answers. The drawings showed areas of the building that didn't match official blueprints, including rooms and passages that shouldn't exist. When agents compared these drawings to the actual structure, they found discrepancies that suggested either the perpetrators had access to construction documents unavailable to investigators, or they possessed knowledge of the building that predated official records. Physical evidence from the warehouse underwent extensive analysis at FBI laboratories in Washington. The paper used for the drawings contained fibers consistent with high-quality drafting materials available only to architectural firms or engineering companies. The ink showed unusual chemical properties that didn't match any commercially available writing instruments. Most disturbing handwriting analysis revealed the documents had been created by at least 12 different individuals, far more than the 7 perpetrators identified in witness statements. As months passed, the investigation uncovered a network of connections that extended far beyond a simple robbery crew. Bank records revealed unusual financial activity in accounts linked to individuals with no apparent connection to organized crime. Several suspects had received large cash deposits weeks before the robbery, deposits that came from untraceable sources. Others had made purchases of specialized equipment through intermediaries who themselves seemed to have no criminal backgrounds. The breakthrough came 6 years later, in 1956, when career criminal Joseph O'Keefe approached federal agents seeking protection. Facing unrelated charges, O'Keefe claimed knowledge of the Brinks robbery and offered information in exchange for leniency. His confession provided names, methods, and details that matched evidence investigators had accumulated. Yet, even with his cooperation, crucial questions remained unanswered. O'Keefe described planning sessions held in various locations around Boston, meetings attended by individuals he couldn't identify beyond physical descriptions. He spoke of receiving detailed instructions through intermediaries, never meeting face-to-face with whoever orchestrated the operation. Most significantly, he claimed the actual robbery plan came from sources outside the immediate crew, delivered as a complete operational blueprint that specified every detail down to the minute. The confession led to arrests of 10 individuals connected to the robbery. Anthony Pino, the alleged mastermind, had organized the crew and supervised the initial planning phases. Joseph McGinnis provided financial backing and arranged for disposal of stolen goods. Other members included Stanley Gusera, Adolph Novelli, James Faherty, Thomas Richardson, Michael Geegan, Vincent Costa, and Henry Baker. Each played specific roles in the operation, yet none claimed knowledge of who had provided the crucial intelligence that made the robbery possible. During subsequent trials, disturbing details emerged about the months preceding the robbery. Defense attorneys presented evidence suggesting their clients had been manipulated by unknown parties who provided information, equipment, and coordination far beyond the crew's capabilities. Witnesses testified about meetings with unidentified individuals who seemed to possess intimate knowledge of law, enforcement procedures, and investigative techniques. The trial records, much of which remains classified, contain references to evidence that was deemed too sensitive for public disclosure. FBI documents mention recovery of materials that posed questions about national security implications. Several witnesses who were scheduled to testify died under circumstances that, while ruled accidental or natural, occurred with timing that concerned federal prosecutors. Of the stolen money, only $58,000 was ever recovered. The remaining millions vanished into channels that federal investigators never fully traced. Financial analysis suggested the money was laundered through operations sophisticated enough to require expert knowledge of international banking systems, capabilities that exceeded those of typical criminal organizations. The most unsettling discovery came during a routine evidence review in 1973. FBI archivists found documents in the Brinks files that referenced similar robbery patterns in other cities dating back to the 1930s. Each case involved the same level of precision, the same absence of physical evidence, and the same mysterious disappearance of perpetrators after brief periods of cooperation with authorities. In Detroit, 1938, an armored car company lost over $1 million to robbers who demonstrated identical operational methods. Cleveland, 1942, witnessed a bank robbery executed with the same precision, timing, and insider knowledge. Philadelphia, 1947, experienced a securities theft that followed patterns matching the Boston case exactly. In each instance, investigations reached similar dead ends despite extensive federal resources. The pattern suggested an organization operating across decades and multiple jurisdictions, coordinating complex financial crimes through methods that left minimal traces. Federal analysts developed theories about a criminal network with capabilities approaching those of intelligence agencies, yet no evidence ever emerged to support definitive conclusions about who controlled such operations or what their ultimate objectives might have been. Boston police records contain additional details that never became part of the official federal investigation. Officers responding to unrelated calls in the North End during weeks following the robbery reported unusual activity around buildings near the Brinks depot. Residents complained about strangers conducting apparent surveillance of their neighborhoods. Several witnesses described seeing groups of men in dark clothing who seemed to be systematically searching areas around Prince Street. The strangest reports came from children playing in nearby lots and alleys. Multiple witnesses, all under 12 years old, described finding objects that adults couldn't locate when brought to investigate. The children spoke of discovering papers with strange writing, small metal devices that looked like miniature radios, and photographs of people none of them recognized. When parents and police attempted to recover these items, they had invariably disappeared. One incident stands out in supplementary police reports. 8-year-old Maria Santos led her father and a patrol officer to an abandoned building where she claimed to have found a suitcase full of money. The building showed signs of recent occupancy despite being officially vacant for years. Fresh food, recent newspapers, and sleeping arrangements suggested multiple people had been using the space. However, no suitcase or money was ever found, despite extensive searches. The federal investigation officially closed in 1956 with the conviction of 8 conspirators. However, classified addendums to the case file continued accumulating information for another 2 decades. FBI agents reported periodic discoveries of materials connected to the robbery appearing in locations across the northeastern United States. Each find raised new questions about the scope and duration of whatever organization had orchestrated the original crime. In 1978, construction workers renovating a building in Boston's financial district discovered a room that had been sealed since approximately 1950. Inside, investigators found detailed maps of armored car routes throughout New England, photographs of dozens of bank and security company employees, and financial records suggesting surveillance operations that had continued for years after the Brinks robbery. Most disturbing were documents indicating the same organization had been monitoring federal investigators assigned to the case. The final entry in the official Brinks file dates to 1981, when federal agents received an anonymous package containing original currency bands from the stolen money, along with a typed note reading simply, "The work continues elsewhere." Analysis of the paper, ink, and typewriter characteristics suggested the message had been prepared decades earlier, stored, and delivered according to some predetermined schedule. What do you think really happened during those 27 minutes at 165 Prince Street? Was this simply the work of exceptionally well-prepared criminals, or evidence of something far more organized and enduring? Share your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe to explore more cases where the official story is only the beginning.